Hello, my name is Charles Ballard, I'm an A2 Media student, and in this video I'm going to be discussing some of the things that will appear in my upcoming horror trailer. Now firstly, let's discuss the characters. Now there are going to be two entities here. We have the protagonist and the antagonist. So firstly, let's start with the protagonist. So they're going to be a police investigator. They're going to be a male in their mid-20s, and being a police investigator, you can imagine that they're dressed smartly, mainly in dark colours. Now, on the other hand, we have the antagonist, who is a ghostly entity, or a ghostly spirit. Now, they're going to be dressed in dark colours with long hair, and sticking to the conventions of the horror genre, they're only going to be shown very briefly in certain shots. So yes, that's what's going to happen with the characters. Now let's discuss the plot. So I'll give you a brief synopsis of what is going to happen. So the majority of the filming will happen at a local woods. Now victims are being found in the woods, dead, with a locket in their hands. So like somewhat similar to a cross or an amulet or something like something along those lines. Now, the protagonist has been called in to help solve these murders, and whilst the protagonist is walking along a path in the woods, stumbles across a small chest, and out of curiosity goes to open it and discovers the exact same locket or amulet inside as has been appearing on the dead bodies previously. Now, so the protagonist is then stalked by the antagonist, and the rest of the film will revolve around the protagonist trying to defeat the antagonist, and the protagonist trying to get out of the woods alive. Now, let's quickly move on to props. Now, the props I'm going to use are going to be quite simple. However, they're going to be used to keep the maximum effect with the audience. So the protagonist is going to be dressed smartly, as I mentioned earlier on. So he'll be wearing something like a black trench coat, and some sort of shirt underneath. So that sort of is symbolic for his job, being a police investigator. Now, on the other hand, we have the antagonist, and they're going to be dressed mainly in dark colours. Quite scruffy, and they'll have long dark hair as well. So this will tie in with the whole image of sort of a ghostly entity, and they'll only be shown briefly. So that will also tie in with that image. Now the general props that I'll use are going to be average as well. So they'll be quite simple, but they're again used for the maximum effect with the audience. So I'm going to use a replica gun, and that is going to be wielded by the antagonist, by the protagonist, sorry. And a phone will also be used by the protagonist. So being a police investigator, he will attempt to try to call for backup, call for help, something along those lines. And then, of course, we're going to have the locket or the amulet that will feature heavily throughout the trailer and indeed the film. And of course we're going to have the small chest which the locket / amulet will be contained in. So that's fundamentally it for the props at this moment. I'm going to briefly touch on camera angles now. So a variety of camera angles will be used, such as close-up, mid-shot, long and establishing shots will be used within the trailer. This will help to establish the location, the characters, things like that, etc. Now, high-angle shots will be used as well. So this will high-angle and low-angle shots will be used. This will help to illustrate the power balance and the power struggle between the antagonist and the protagonist. For example, when the protagonist walks into the woods, a high-angle shot may be used to illustrate the fact that the power has shifted. Now he is he's sort of not in his own environment, so he's at a weakness, so that could be used to show the power struggle. Point of view shots will also be used frequently in a point of view from the antagonist, as we won't see much of the antagonist in person. We will frequently see point of view shots used by it. So, for example, if the protagonist is walking along somewhere, the antagonist will be in the bushes, for example, chasing after, and that will really help to create a sort of heightened experience, and it will help to build tension as well. Right, so on the other hand, let's briefly discuss sound. Now, sound will play a huge role in my horror trailer. There'll be two types, non-diegetic and diegetic sound. So, for example, diegetic sound, footsteps, things like characters' voices and environmental noises will feature heavily in my trailer. So, for example, being set in a wooded area, you can imagine the crunch of leaves, the cracking of twigs as you walk along. Those sort of things will be appearing heavily. Footsteps and characters' voices, as I just mentioned as well. So now, finally, let us touch on non-diegetic sound. Now, things like music and sound effects. So music will play a huge role in building tension and establishing the scene for my trailer. So, for example, at the start, the music may be more slow-paced, building up faster and faster as the trailer reaches its climactic ending. And for example, things like sound effects. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to use a replica gun. So, in order to simulate the sound of bullets being fired, I will add in the sounds when it comes to the editing process later on. However, the whole idea of firing the gun has not been finalised yet, so it may change as and when we come to filming. So, thank you for watching this planning video. My name is Charles Ballard, and this has been a brief overview of my horror trailer.